This is CBC Here and Now.
A significant amount of rain and high winds are expected this weekend. I'll tell you who's affected coming up.
Therefore, effective midnight tonight, the special measures orders requiring masks in indoor public spaces will be in effect.
Masks are back.
You're going to have to wear them starting tomorrow.
We'll tell you where.
When you're in an accident on the highway, this is what you use to call for help. But for some people in the province, that's easier said than done. That's just ahead.
Welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. We begin with a COVID-19 update.
That's right, it's time to dig out your masks again. At a surprise COVID briefing this afternoon, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald announced that masks will again be mandatory. It was just a month and a half ago that masks were scrapped. Most people have continued to wear them in stores and indoor spaces, but not in all places. And today, officials stressed it will cut down on the number of cases and cut down on the alerts they have to issue when people who were in a business have to go and get tested. Let's take a look at the rules. They look a lot like the old rules. You'll need a mask in indoor public spaces like the grocery store, the gym, on public transit, at church, the theater, arena, or in a college or university. For schools, it's mandatory for grades 4 to 12. It'll still be recommended for younger kids as well, as long as they can wear them. They're hoping that masks will take the strain off public health, who've had outbreaks at big events, lots of contacts, and they've all needed testing.
And we know that, it's not being used in schools at this point. So I think we just need to make sure that we're adding that extra protection. And we know there has been some research that's been done to show that adherence does increase when we have a mandate in place. And so I think that's where that sort of helped to inform our decision. And seeing what's happening elsewhere, I think it's prudent to do so.
Now, we also got some clarity today on the coming vaccine passport. Earlier this week, the health minister said it would be a vaccine passport light. It would be optional for businesses, but not mandatory. Now, in case you missed his comments, here's what he said on Wednesday.
We have not mandated vaccines for anybody. What the vaccine passport will be is an option for individuals and businesses to choose to use it if they wish.
Now, today, the Premier overruled him. Vaccines will be required if you want to do indoor, non-essential activities like they're rolling out in other provinces. Now, they don't have very many further details on exactly where, but they were clear on one thing.
Currently, we are seeing a concerning level of epidemiology, so it would be mandatory for non-essential services, period.
Now, that's not the only change in position on vaccine passports. It looks like Dr. Janice Fitzgerald has changed her mind on them as well. Back in July, she said she didn't like the idea because it would mean people would be disclosing their personal health information, but she now says her concerns will be addressed. Here's a look at what she said back in July and what she said today.
You're not going to require anyone to release personal health information, which your vaccination status would be, to anyone, that is a person's right to decide if they want to do that. So to require it certainly would be infringing on that privacy. All steps are being taken to protect people's privacy, and that we're not actually, releasing the actual information of their vaccine, what vaccines they've had or anything like that. This question, of course, has been dealt with by people outside of me, and I'm sure that everything has been done to protect people's privacy to the greatest extent possible.
Well, yesterday I came flying out with some good news that the entire province was going to see the sun, and today you got to take the good with the bad. It can't all be sunshine and rainbows, so to speak. So earlier this afternoon, Environment Canada put out this special weather statement, and you can see this entire area here. You're looking at the Avalon Peninsula, the Bonavista Peninsula, the Burin Peninsula, Clarenville and vicinity is looking at a special weather statement. These parts of the province could see 50 to 80 millimeters of rain. Gusts of winds between 80 to 100 kilometers an hour. So that's a big amount of rain and a lot of wind that could, I'm just trying to get out of the way so you can see the map, even though I just said where it was. So this is all going to start Sunday morning, and it's going to run for about 24 hours. It's going to be heavier later Sunday evening into the early morning hours, and then it'll taper off. But that's an incredible amount of rain. Now, I will stress that this is just a weather statement. It is not a warning. So you might want to keep an eye on this and get an umbrella or a rain jacket, because it's going to rain.
Thanks, Jeremy. Well, they say they're done asking. Just days before Canadians head to the polls, nurses across the country and the province declared a day of action, and done asking is their motto. Nurses say there's a national staffing crisis, and it's compromising patient care as well as the health and well-being of workers. Today, the Canadian Federation of Nurses Unions planned more than a dozen rallies in Newfoundland and Labrador, including one here in St. John's.
Today, registered nurses, healthcare workers, and their supporters are participating in a national day of action ahead of the federal election on September 20th to protest the lack of government action to fix the critical nursing shortage and make urgently needed improvements to Canada's stressed healthcare system.
Widespread nursing shortages and increased demands have compromised care of our patients and clients across this country. Shame. 18 months into a deadly pandemic and more than a decade into a chronic nursing shortage, registered nurses and healthcare providers are expressing anger and frustration and exhaustion.
I've got people asking about pensioning out early, people looking at career changes, people who are being lured away by the private sector or other provinces. We already know what Nova Scotia's plans are. They're coming looking for healthcare practitioners from other jurisdictions. And unfortunately, we're ripe for the picking because we are tired, we are exhausted, and we don't know how much more we can take.
In the 36 years I have been nursing, I have never seen nurses under such stress. Almost every day I hear from nurses who are struggling under heavy workloads, struggling because they are short-staffed, struggling because there are not enough nurses to do the work. I fear for the well-being of nurses. So many nurses are exhausted, so many nurses are tired, they can't get time off, they are called on frequently to work extra shifts and work very long shifts. I fear for the well-being of nurses.
Registered nurses, nurse practitioners, and many other healthcare providers have reached their breaking point because of the demands on the system. Our members face staggering rates of workplace violence. Over 1,100 code whites for violent acts were called last year within our healthcare facilities. Registered nurses and nurse practitioners are tired, frustrated, and demanding change. Their mental health is suffering. Some are struggling with work-related psychological injuries, including PTSD, and most are missing important life events. They are committed to patient care and left feeling that they are just not enough.
Well, nearly 100 people came out in Corner Brook this afternoon protesting what they call a critical shortage and unsafe working conditions for nurses and staff. CUPE represents LPNs and personal care attendants. 75 members showed up on Majestic Lawn in a show of solidarity with registered nurses and nurse practitioners. CUPE's president says it's time for government to recognize the problems and fix them.
Minister Haggie needs to deal with the situation. He's not, the Medical Association and the paramedics, the other NAPE has been on sounding the alarms on that there's a healthcare crisis in Newfoundland and Labrador, and there is a healthcare crisis. The minister is not willing to admit it, but when you've got staff that are working all these extra hours and there's no staff to get, that's a healthcare crisis. You can't expect people to work day after day, no days off, or a day off and then back again for a 16-hour shift. Like, the system cannot maintain, our workers cannot maintain that lifestyle.
So what are working conditions like for nurses? More from those on the front line and the president of the local Registered Nurses Union a little later on Here and Now.
Well, the Leader of the Opposition had some strong words for the provincial government today, also about healthcare. MHA David Brazel says the Premier and the Health Minister need to step up when it comes to healthcare services. This after Health Minister John Haggie met with the Association of Public and Private Employees and Paramedics. Haggie says he would form a working group to address problems with the province's emergency services. But Brazel says the healthcare system has never been worse. He wants to see more action taken, and fast.
The Minister has the opportunity and the ability to do it. He hasn't done it for 6 years. So we can't dismissively keep talking about it and talking about it. The Premier has the ability. He has a background in it. Make a decision now. Make a decision what your priorities are around healthcare and start acting on them immediately. There's not one health professional, there's not one citizen in this province who doesn't want healthcare improved tomorrow. Not next week, not next month, not next year, tomorrow.
Residents along the south coast of the island are pushing to have cell phone service in dead zones. One man has started an online petition that has garnered thousands of supporters. They're arguing it's not about convenience, it's about highway safety. Here Now's Henrika Wilhelm reports.
It's not uncommon to see this along the roads in this province. But what happens if there's an accident? You'd probably grab your cell phone to make a call, but you can't do that along the Beta Spear Highway. You don't get a signal.
It's been a long time without service, so I just want to do something about it. Because if we don't do anything about it, someone else could be dead on the highway before emergency responders could get there. There's so many people getting killed on that highway, and there's potholes on the highway, like somebody could lose a tire.
Stride started a petition for better cell service along the Beta Spear Highway, where moose and caribou are a common sight. The petition has garnered over 11,000 signatures and is supported by Chief Michel Joe.
It's long overdue, and I really want to thank Trevor for what he's doing, because nobody has picked up the pin to try and make an effort. It's a dangerous highway. There's lots of moose and caribou and every kind of animal we have in Newfoundland. And if you're alone at night, you're going down that highway. If you have an accident, you're nothing you can do.
There are hundreds of cell phone towers in Newfoundland and Labrador, but some areas still aren't covered as well as others, especially in central Newfoundland and on the south coast. The Beta Spear Highway, route NL 360, stretches about 180 kilometers, but none of it has good service, says the chief.
It happened to me once that I went off the road, hit a pot of slippery ice, and I just sat there in my truck, was turned over, bottom up, and I crawled up on the road, and it was raining, and it was a long time before somebody came along. So you have one or two places along the Beta Spear Highway we can actually get coverage for just for a briefest of second.
I'm hoping something could be done. This is an ongoing issue that I'm not going to stop until something is done.
Minister Parsons says the issue will be addressed, but is not an easy feat, and Ottawa's jurisdiction.
I wish it was just as easy to flick the switch to have the coverage. I absolutely do. But it's not that easy. And the cost to cover all these vast areas of the province falls in the hundreds of millions of dollars. But we have taken steps, and we are working on projects where I think you're going to see increased connectivity in the very near future. Like I say, we're covering more and more rural communities, partnering with communities, and we want to see more of these areas covered.
Stride said he wants to take his petition to the House of Assembly next. A meeting with Transportation Minister Elvis Lovelace this morning was already a first step to get one of these in the area. Henrika Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
A case that threatens to derail the Muskrat Falls rate mitigation deal was back in Supreme Court in St. John's today. The Inu Nation is seeking a court injunction that would halt talks to finalize the agreement in principle between Canada and Newfoundland and Labrador. A deal the federal and provincial governments were expecting to finalize by September 30th. Here now's Mark Quinn reports.
Innu leaders say Canada and Newfoundland and Labrador's refusal to consult with them has had a profound impact.
I'm having a hard time to trust the Liberal government myself, as an individual, as a voter.
At both levels?
At both levels.
The Innu are in court claiming Canada and the province had a duty to include them in Muskrat Falls rate mitigation talks. Talks that led to a $5.2 billion agreement in principle in July. The Inu are asking a judge to send the question of whether or not there's a duty to consult to a trial and order further rate mitigation negotiations stopped until that trial is concluded. Today in court, federal lawyers argued they don't have a duty to consult with the Inu and there's no reason to go to trial. The Inu Nation strongly disagrees, and it hopes an injunction will push governments to consult with them.
Inu have made it very clear all along. If we can sit down and have a fair table to talk, a fair process to talk about these things, we'll do that. We don't want to be here. I certainly don't want to be here in front of the court arguing this. You've heard the Grand Chief talk about reconciliation. Reconciliation is not worked out in courts seeking blunt instruments of injunctions.
The Inu Nation won't say how much money it believes it will lose because of a rate mitigation deal, but their lawyers say there must be meaningful consultation to address the Inu Nation's concerns.
Consultation is not about blowing off steam. That's not the Inu, the Grand Chief going into a room and saying, I'm very angry. No, it's about sitting down, rolling up your sleeves, working really hard to work out a deal that's fair to everybody, fair to the Inu.
Justice McDonald says he will hand down a decision next week on Monday. If an injunction is granted, it could take months for a trial to determine if the governments have a duty to consult with the Inu Nation. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Now, still with Muskrat Falls, a blistering attack out of Quebec today. It's aimed at this province and the hydroelectric project, and it comes from one of the federal leaders campaigning for Monday's election.
Worst of the worst of the worst is the terrible saga of Muskrat Falls.
That's Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet making comments today while campaigning in Trois-Rivières. Blanchet calls the financing of the project, which includes a loan guarantee from Ottawa, a bad deal for the federal government.
And to avoid that citizens of Newfoundland see their electricity bill explode, well, the federal government is giving Newfoundland money from Quebec, whereas the Muskrat project, started in 2010, was openly put in place in order to compete with Hydro-Quebec. It's quite a bit. Furthermore, not only did they do this by guaranteeing with the money of the competitor in Quebec, but during the exercise, we went and got an expertise, an Italian expertise that was not an expertise, and that increased the fiasco side of this whole adventure. The $15 billion that the federal government may have to pay out, I mean, $15 billion is a lot of money.
Now, Blanchet is calling on the federal government to cancel its financial commitment to the project, and here's why.
Everybody knows that the Newfoundland government will never pay their portion of a project, which not only may never exist, but will never be profitable.
Here's a look from atop the CBC building here along the Parkway. A beautiful day in St. John's, but that beauty will turn to rain over the weekend. I'll have the details coming up.
Time for a look at the weather forecast. It was a gorgeous day in St. John's today.
I'll take all the credit for it. All the credit for it.
Yes.
Because it was nice and people weren't complaining. They're
Yep.
probably going to complain soon. But such is the life I live as the interim weather person.
If you take credit now, then you have to be blamed for what's coming.
Yeah, that's true. But Ashley should be back Monday, so we'll let her have it. Now, but before we get to the weather and what's going to come on Sunday, there was some big news in the local world of sports. Newfoundland and Labrador has a new national singles champion in tennis. Liam Drover-Matten from Portugal Cove, St. Philip's.
Yes, Liam won the Under-16 National Championship and was just named to Canada's Junior Davis Cup team.
This is only the second time a player from this province has won the national title. Liam originally planned to go to the Under-18 Nationals next week, but now that he's on the Davis Cup team, he'll be heading to the circuit's finals in Turkey at the end of the month. Congratulations, Liam. So let's just jump right into the weather.
Okay.
So I got to give you the good. So we'll start with the good because this is what I used to do when I had a report card to bring home to my mother. You start with the good and then you lead them into the bad. So here were today's highs. So we're looking at, the highest temperature that we had today was 23 degrees, and that was in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Now, there might have been some rain up in Nain and northern Labrador, but for the most part, it was a beautiful day along the island. You can see some of those temperatures there. A little bit above seasonal, and on a Friday before a weekend in September, we're going to take it. But, so now, Mom, here's my actual report card. Here's the good news, now here's the bad news. So tonight, sorry, I was one slide behind again. So tonight, it's going to be a pretty mild night here. The temperature is only going to drop a few degrees there in Port aux Basques. As you can see, you're sitting 15, and there's going to be a little bit of rain. And then 13 degrees in St. Anthony, but it's going to be pretty clear because tomorrow is also going to be a pretty nice day on, I guess half of the island. Now up in Labrador, we'll take a quick peek up there. It's going to start raining in Nain tonight, and that rain is going to continue. They're expected to get a few millimeters, but I'll get into the amounts really soon. And it's the same thing, Labrador City, Churchill Falls, Happy Valley Goose Bay, they're also going to see little bits of rain, even as far as Cartwright, because there's a system coming across, but we'll see that now shortly. And this is what I'm talking about. So you see that big green? So there's that rain system that's going to bring dampened parts of Labrador over, it's going to start Saturday morning and then work its way into Saturday, which means it'll be rainy up in Labrador. But for the island, this is what we're looking for. St. John's, you're going to sit at about 20 degrees. Bonavista will be one of the hot spots at 23 degrees. But as we move further west, what's going to happen is you're going to see a little bit of cloud cover. And you can also see the green here on the map, which means that there will be slight rain, but there's no significant amounts. It's still going to be very mild, 23 degrees there in Grand Falls, Windsor. You have a bit of sun and clouds. Harbor Breton might see a few. A little bit of rain, but there, again, no amounts to really talk about or worry about for that matter. But who's to say? People in this province are used to heavy rain, so I think we'll be fine. Now, the cloudiness continues there in Port aux Basques and all the way up western Newfoundland and all the way into the northern peninsula as well, where you'll see a little bit of showers throughout the day, but no significant amounts. Mary's Harbour and Cartwright, you'll see a little bit of rain, but not much. But when you move up into Nain, this is where, now it was saying that it'd be a lot more, there would have been a lot more rain. It was saying at one point 15 to 25. Right now it's saying 10 to 15, so that's going to start early this morning and continue throughout the day. It's also going to be unseasonably chilly up there at 10 degrees. Now Labrador City, Wabush, and Churchill Falls are looking at 5 to 10 millimeters of rain as well. But that's going to pale in comparison to what we're going to see over the weekend. So this is a subtropical low that's coming up from the south, and this is what's bringing this system towards us. So this is a special weather statement that was issued by Environment Canada at about 3:55 p.m. today. And as you can see, you're looking at the Burin Peninsula, Clarenville and vicinity, the Bonavista Peninsula, and the entire Avalon Peninsula is going to be affected by this. So what they're saying right now is it could be 50 to 80 millimeters of rain and gusts of 80 to 100 kilometers an hour. So obviously Larry was a lot more, the winds were a lot higher, but there wasn't a lot of rain. So you just should be prepared right now because this is just a special weather statement. This is not a warning. So what's going to happen is it's going to start raining on Sunday morning, and then that's going to move into Sunday night. And the heaviest will be Sunday afternoon into early Monday morning. Then it'll taper off into, let's see if I can, did I put the map in? No, of course I didn't. Oh yeah, I did. So this is what it's going to look like as it moves across. You can see Saturday it's starting there. and it's going to move. So that's Saturday, and then you can see there it's Sunday. So this is what we're looking at here. And as you can see, just keep an eye into that system as it moves across. That's going to bring the heaviest amounts of rain. So you're going to want to keep an eye on that. And right now, these numbers could change, but as it stands now, this is a special weather statement. And so people should just need to keep an eye out for it for now. And I'll have more details coming up later in the show.
Thanks, Jeremy. We're still seeing the impact of last weekend's big storm. A wildlife rescue group in Torbay says typically things are slowing down this time of year, but Hurricane Larry has ruffled many feathers. Our cameras swung by the Rock Wildlife Rescue to see their work in action.
I'm the director of the Rock Wildlife Rescue. What we do is we rescue and rehabilitate Newfoundland wildlife, migratory seabirds, songbirds, small mammals. We take care of them. It's not a sanctuary. We take in animals, we help them recover, and we get them back out as soon as possible. Except for Hurricane Larry, we would be heading into a really quiet season, but you know, his visit jumped our numbers quite a bit. So our job is just to get them in and get them out as quick as we can. Seagulls are one of the biggest numbers we get. We get a lot of seagulls, and crows are two of the biggest injured birds that we get. Seagulls, especially because they're down in parking lots, eating human food, garbage, that sort of thing. A lot of them get hit by cars. Dogs get at them, cats get at them. We try to keep our distance as much as possible, masked, gloved. We try to get them fed on a natural diet that they would eat in the wild as close as we can. As soon as they're able to eat on their own, they're put outside and away from us. Like if you notice, some of the enclosures around here have branches around them. They're tucked back in the trees. As little human contact as we can possibly have with them. They're in and we want them back out. We don't want them to like humans. We want them to be afraid of us. A lot of things people don't think about when you're driving down the road and you're throwing stuff out your window. A lot of people think, well, it's not litter, it's food. You know, it's biodegradable or something else. You don't realize that a crow is going to come down on the road and try to eat that. A seagull is going to try to eat that. And then they've got traffic, they've got other things that are going to come into play. You know, a lot of people say, let's let nature take its course, but that's not nature. Cars aren't nature. The poisons that we're putting out, we've got birds coming in being stuck to rat traps that are put outside. A lot of human intervention is what's happening. So just be aware of what you're doing and what kind of effects that it can have. You know, we want to minimize our numbers coming in here. We don't, you know, we're not excited by large numbers.
We're live at Harbourside Park, where there is music. There are people gathering, connecting, enjoying some refreshments. It is good vibes by design. Coming up, we're going to take you inside the Take Back the Night event, tell you what's different this year and why. That's coming up in about 10 minutes.
Well, as we heard earlier in the show, the Registered Nurses Union is calling today a day of action. It's holding information pickets across the province in 13 locations from St. John's to Corner Brook to Happy Valley Goose Bay. Joining me now is the president of the Registered Nurses Union, Yvette Coffey. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So what is your message to the public today?
Our message to the public today is this is a national call for action. We are now in a nursing crisis in this country, a healthcare crisis in this country. Registered nurses and nurse practitioners throughout Newfoundland and Labrador and the country of Canada are suffering. They're suffering physically, mentally, and they are exhausted, frustrated, and they want the governments of provincially and also the federal government to enact action. We want action now, and prior to the federal election, we want everyone who's running in a riding across this country to hear us and to know what a mess healthcare is in this country right now.
Yeah, we are just days away from a federal election. Politicians are listening right now. What do you want to hear from the politicians?
Well, what we're calling for nationally is a national task force to look at a health human resource strategy plan. So we need to be able to predict how many registered nurses, how many social workers, how many physicians we need in our healthcare system, and how do we get to a point where we have enough. Right now, registered nurses and nurse practitioners, we do not have enough of them to care for the patients of our province safely and effectively.
Can you paint us a picture of that? What kind of stories do you hear from your members, from nurses, when they're talking about what their days and what their nights are like working on shift?
Well, many of our registered nurses go to work now and they pack a bag because they don't know when they're getting home. We have registered nurses working 12-hour shifts that are being extended to 16 and beyond to 24 hours. We have registered nurses who have worked up to 17 days straight, 12-hour shifts. Happy Valley Goose Bay has been desperate for nursing providers. We also have St. Anthony, who has been in crisis now for a while, and it's not about the pandemic. It is not about annual leave or vacation time for registered nurses. We are competing with our counterparts across the country for registered nurses and nurse practitioners, and we need change. Here in St. John's, in Gander, in Corner Brook, we're seeing emergency departments that are full of really sick patients. Your loved ones, the loved ones of everybody in Newfoundland and Labrador. They are on stretchers for days with no bed to put them in. And if there is a bed, there isn't a registered nurse to look after them in that bed. So we have paramedics backed up with ambulances not able to offload. Therefore, we have emergency services shut down within these cities, these big cities, major cities in Newfoundland and Labrador, not able to go and answer emergency calls.
Everyone knows that the province is in a fiscally difficult situation right now. There's not a lot of money to go around. What do you think is a realistic solution?
Well, realistically, we know the economics of Newfoundland and Labrador, and we know that we are in a fiscal situation that none of us want to be in. However, the PERT report, which recommended a 25% cut to healthcare, would be disastrous to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador and to our healthcare providers. Enough is enough. We're done asking for action, and we want our governments to come with solutions. The solutions cannot all come from us. We have to work together, all healthcare workers, all heads of unions, all governments, and talk through and come up with some good, realistic goals and plans.
And as we just heard nurses say, emergency rooms are overflowing and there's not enough staff to keep up. One nurse who's been working in a St. John's ER for more than 10 years says conditions in recent months have been the worst she's ever seen.
Every single day is different, especially in the emergency department, but these last 2 to 3 months have been the worst I've seen it. We are just overwhelmed, overstaffed, overcrowded. We are busting at the seams. It's the only way to explain it. From top up to bottom in, we're crushed in the emergency system. everyone is in overcapacity, so we can't move patients. They can't get upstairs, which means we don't have beds for our emergency patients coming in. We just have nowhere to put anybody and just no staff to take care of them. So that just leads to an environment that's, one, violent, aggressive, and just we cannot care for the patients that we need to care for them. The lack of primary health care in the province right now, there's no primary health care. So everyone is relying on the emergency departments to fill that void. We are not equipped to deal with our elderly population, our aging population. We have people who have loved ones at home that I have no idea how they're caring for them. And they're coming in because there's nowhere to put them. There's no long-term care beds, there's no staff to open up the long-term care beds. This then leads them to upstairs taking up acute care beds, which just backlogs again. So you can't get your patients up to acute care and your patients can't see a primary health care provider, so they all come to emerge. You could walk in and have a great day, and you could walk in and there's 7 ambulances in offload delay, which is, like we've all heard, is a chronic condition now, which leads no emergency services for the rest of the city. If we don't fix the shortage, nothing else will change. If you have no staff, if you physically do not have the people, it doesn't matter how much money you put into equipment or places, there's no one there to work it. And until you can fill that void of staff, nothing else can change. And that's not just in this province, this is national. It's like across the country. And we have to figure out here in Newfoundland how we can get on top of it. Our healthcare is at its max right now. I don't know if we can handle a 4th wave. And I hope we don't have it, but we are usually behind the country by a couple of months. So luckily the people of Newfoundland have really had a high uptake on vaccine rollout and have followed public health guidelines. So I'm hoping together as a province we'll be able to do it, because our healthcare is not in any state to deal with it.
Welcome back to Here and Now. I'm Chrissy Holmes, live at Harbourside Park right now, where there's something really special happening. I'm seeing a ton of people, safely distanced, very respectable, walking around, enjoying the beautiful music, enjoying refreshments. There is representation from a lot of different community groups, and people are making connections here. And you're probably wondering at this point why you can't see any of that. Well, we're going to ask Sandra McKellar here now. Sandra, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. And to answer the question about why we're not having close-ups of people, one of the focus, this is Sexual Violence Awareness Week, and this is a Take Back the Night event. So we're very mindful that there are vulnerable people here. Not everyone's comfortable being on camera or being identified. So we respectfully ask that the pictures be taken from a distance so you can get an idea, but that we are not seen as invasive or neglectful of anyone's need for or feeling that privacy is not being or their need for is not being recognized.
What's really interesting, because I'm sure our viewers will recognize pictures of Take Back the Night event in the past. It used to be a march.
Yes.
This is very different and by design. Tell us a little bit about what it is you're doing differently this year.
Okay. So this year, instead of a march, we're having an event. It is important to have a venue for individuals to get the resources, get the support, the awareness of what's out there that is available to them. It is an event versus a march because I think we're all aware, because it's there in the public, that an organization, an institution that was brought into being because of the need to serve and protect has somehow facilitated a situation or situations where serve and protect has taken a back seat because there are allegations of sexual violence by specific individuals. We need to pay attention to that. I say allegations because it's unresolved, but we need to hear what's being said. We need to pay attention. We need to act because we exist to advocate for people who are unable to do so for themselves. So we are still holding Take Back the Night because it's integral to Sexual Violence Awareness Week, but we're doing it in a manner that says we heard, we listened, we adapted.
Sandra, there's a lot of conversation going on here, and talk is so much a part of your mission statement and what it is you're setting out. Like, as a leader here right now, what is your hope for what comes out of this event today?
I hope that we unite as a community and join with individuals who experience sexual violence to say, we heard you, and when survivors say, listen to me, that we add our voices. When they say it's time to act, we add our voices. When they say put words into action, we add our voices. When they say it has been long enough and we need to act, not just talk, we add our voices.
Sandra, thank you so much for telling us about this, and I'm going to let you get back to the event right now and enjoy all the people that have gathered around you for this. Thank you so much.
And thank you for being here because it truly helps the community come together in such a vital situation, and it needs to happen. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Tragic news out of Ontario tonight. Health officials there are confirming the death of a child from COVID-19. Now, it's the first coronavirus-related death of someone under the age of 10 in the Waterloo region.
The child had underlying health conditions. There were no school-related or childcare-related exposures in this case. This is a rare but tragic circumstance and a devastating reminder of the serious nature of this virus.
In a tweet, Ontario Premier Doug Ford called the child's death absolutely gut-wrenching and said his prayers are with the family. Ford renewed calls for every eligible Ontarian to get vaccinated. Nationally, COVID is blamed for the deaths of 15 people, 19 years of age and younger, since the start of the pandemic. Time to find out who's celebrating. Congratulations to Ralph and Selena Courage of St. John's, who are celebrating their 60th anniversary. Alfred and Cassie Martin of Shoal Harbour are celebrating 51 years of marriage. Happy anniversary to Bob and Margaret Shepherd from Bishop's Falls. They're celebrating their 57th wedding anniversary. Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Randy and Violet Kellaway. Congratulations to Dominic and Madonna Fitzgerald of Southeast Placentia. They're celebrating their 57th wedding anniversary.
Happy 52nd anniversary to Winston and Geraldine Howell of St. John's. Happy 58th anniversary to Bertha and Boyd King. They're from Paradise. Happy anniversary to Verban and Jean Hewlin of Cornerbrook. They're celebrating 50 years of marriage. It's also a 50th anniversary for Ed and Gertie Reardon of Goose Cove. They're now living in Portugal Cove. Anniversary greetings to Walter and Anita Pierce, living in St. John's. They're celebrating their 58th anniversary this week.
Happy 56th anniversary to Mary and Jeremiah Osmond of Channel Port aux Basques. Congratulations to Art and Mary Sturge of St. John's. They're celebrating their 73rd anniversary.
Wow, that's a big one.
Anniversary greetings going out to Gordon and Marie Lannon of Bishops Falls on their 75th wedding anniversary. Congratulations.
Wow, that is a big one. Congratulations to you both.
Happy 68th anniversary to Roland and Bessie Wells from Cox's Cove. Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Wayne and Gladys Knoll from St. Anthony.
Happy 56th anniversary to Phyllis and Herbert Burry of Greenspond. Happy 50th anniversary to Ron and Beverly Beaton of Sandy Point. Wishing Hector and Jean Earl of St. Lunaire Griquet a very happy 61st wedding anniversary. Greetings to Cyril and Sandra Walsh of Fairyland, celebrating 54 years of marriage.
Happy 50th anniversary to Ralph and Ethel Hiscock of Mount Pearl. Happy 55th anniversary to John and Mary Cox of Clark's Beach. Happy 50th anniversary to Don and Pauline Vokey of Conception Bay South. Wayne and Cynthia Sears are also celebrating their 50th anniversary. They live in St. John's. Jim and Judy Shepherd from the south side of Harbor Grace have been married 50 years. Congratulations.
Jim and Bridget Welsh of Carbonear are celebrating their 51st wedding anniversary. Happy 62nd anniversary to Gerald and Hazel Newbury of Mount Pearl. Happy 60th anniversary to Dolly and Howard Butt of Twillingate. Happy 59th anniversary to John and Dorothy Vay of Long Beach, Trinity Bay. Happy 55th anniversary to Shirley and Louis Snow of Bay Roberts.
Happy 57th anniversary to Clarence and Monica Cody of Shea Heights. Happy anniversary to Eddie and Peggy Michelin of Happy Valley Goose Bay, who are celebrating their 50th anniversary. Now to some birthdays. Wishing Laura Hammond of St. Philip's a very happy 90th birthday. Isabel McKinnon, who is affectionately known as Old Nan, is turning 97. Happy birthday. Birthday greetings going out to Ruby Loader of North Harbour, Placentia Bay, who's celebrating her 94th birthday. She's now in Clarenville.
Happy 90th birthday to Rodney Ford from Port aux Basques. Happy birthday to this lovely lady. We didn't get her name. We know she's a mom. She's from Carpoon, and she's turning 90 this Sunday. Happy 90th birthday also going out to Charlie Easton of Clarenville. It's a 90th birthday for Job Halfyard of Lassie, now living in St. John's. Happy 90th birthday to Annie O'Rourke of Admiral's Beach, who now lives in St. John's.
Wishing Chess Blunden of Shoal Harbour a happy 90th birthday. Happy birthday to Marjorie Shepherd of Clarenville, now living in St. John's. She's celebrating her 90th birthday. Birthday wishes going out to Catherine Coombs of Heart's Desire, who turns 91 tomorrow. Happy birthday to Rita Perry in Gander. She's turning 96. Joyce Chipman of Spaniards Bay is celebrating her 99th birthday today.
Happy birthday to Janet Payton of Stephenville. She turns 98. Happy birthday to Nellie Collier, who is celebrating her 91st birthday, with special wishes from all your friends and family. Congratulations, everyone.
Well, happy birthday and happy anniversary to everyone. Here's a gift for you, a special weather statement from Environment Canada. So these portions here in the gray, which is the Avalon Peninsula, the Bonavista Peninsula, the Burin Peninsula, and the Clarenville and vicinity, you're looking at a possible 50 to 80 millimeters of rain, and the wind could gust 80 to 100 kilometers an hour. So this is all going to start Sunday morning, probably be the heaviest mid-morning around noon, and that'll continue up until Monday morning when it'll taper off and that system will move off. But there's more weather than just on the eastern part of Newfoundland. We'll just take a quick look at that. So this is the future tracker. As you can see here, this is that rain system that's going to come in at about 4 a.m. on Sunday, and then that's going to move across, and this is going to bring all the rain that's going to hit into these areas. And you can see there's Sunday at 7 p.m. So this is what we're looking at here, this yellow down there. That's going to bring most of the things. So that'll bring a lot of rain to the Avalon Peninsula as well, where this is sort of probably going to be primarily focused there in the Avalon, but all those areas are facing a special weather statement. But let's just take a quick look ahead. As you can see, Sunday there's a lot of rain there on the island, but Labrador, you're the exact opposite. There will be a lot of sun. So you're looking at 14 in Cartwright, 11 in Labrador City, and 12 in Nain. So again, so this is the system that we're talking about. Just take another closer look so you can just see that it's going to move on past. So this is Monday at 8 a.m. This is the part that we're worried about right here, but that's going to move off. So there will be heavy rain coming on Sunday. So we don't really know the amounts. We can estimate it'll be between 50 and 80, but that could vary as these systems are constantly changing. So there it goes, and it'll move on off, and then we're going to have nicer temperatures later in the week, and it's going to be nice and mild. I'm just going to show you those really quickly. So here's where I'm just going to step out of the shot so you can see it. This is what we're looking at in St. John's. As you can see, it'll warm up later on in the week, and as we move into central and western Newfoundland, you can see that it'll be rainy over the weekend there on the western, but then it's going to warm up and the sun will come out early next week. And it's the same thing with central, except you'll have a nicer day tomorrow, and then it'll move on to the rest of the week where it'll be sun. Look at that, 25 on Wednesday. Hopefully that sticks around. And up in Labrador, this is what you're looking at. It'll be a little bit chillier there on the west, but the sun will come out on Sunday, hopefully, and Tuesday. And up on eastern, you're looking at Sunday and Monday nice, but look at that 22 on Tuesday. So it's all looking pretty good there weather-wise, but just keep an eye on that special weather statement because it could change overnight as we move closer to when it actually starts.
And still so much cleanup still happening from Hurricane Larry, so it's a good idea to make sure your gutters are cleared and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that sort of thing. It would make sense. Now, the winds won't be as harsh as Hurricane Larry, but it will be a lot more rain.
And good news, it's going to at least move out by Monday, which is Election Day. So it's going to be a busy day for a lot of folks and for us here at CBC. So rain will be gone by then, and hopefully it's a nice day as people get out to vote.
Yeah, we'll see you then. Good night.
Have a good weekend.